Caribbean Kitchen, Foods offers 7 unique blends of premium, low-sodium Jamaican seasoning that will add a burst of flavor to your dishes. Our authentic all-natural Jamaican seasonings are a game changer when it comes to adding a burst of flavor to your dishes. Our products are kosher, all-natural, contains ingredients that are gluten-free and GMO-free. Our seasonings are handcrafted with the highest quality ingredients. We source our ingredients from the Caribbean to capture the authentic taste of the islands. Unleash your creativity in the kitchen and savor the taste of the Caribbean with our spice blends. Enjoy our variety of seasonings that are flavor-packed to deliver the best taste for your dishes. Get ready to create delicious meals that will excite your taste buds and leave your guests asking for more. Try our exclusive curry and jerk seasonings for an extraordinary cooking experience. Our blends are an excellent choice for chicken, meat, fish, and vegan dishes. Add a burst of flavor to your cooking with our top quality Jamaican seasonings. Grab one of our bundles and enjoy the taste of the islands.
Shalom, family. It's your brother Benaiah Ben Israel. And can I tell you something? This is something epic. The first of its kind. A monumental event of historical proportions. You see, the African Israelite Justice Foundation is hosting an event in Charleston, South Carolina, November the 15th through the 17th, called the My History, My Heritage Empowerment Summit, in partnership with Gullah Geechee Tours to provide a once-in-a-lifetime conference experience. On November the 15th through the 17th of this year, Israelites all around the world will gather where the sun turned into darkness and the moon did not give her light, and the sign of the Son of Man did appear in heaven. The My History, My Heritage Empowerment Summit will offer historical tours both day and night by the one and only Gullah Geechee Tours. We also plan to offer authentic Gullah Geechee cuisine by the granddaughter of world-renowned Gullah Geechee cuisine chef, Emily Meggett. We also plan to host a beach or park Sabbath day service and fellowship, culminating with an African Israelite Justice Foundation conference in the heart of Charleston, on the historical grounds of an African Israelite resting place with a replica ship and a plantation house. You see, to know where you're going, you have to know where you've been and learn how we can repair the breaches in the walls of Jerusalem together and help defend our heritage, our history, and by the grace and mercy of the Most High Yah, be empowered to victory. Hallelujah. Well, family, come on out and join us in Charleston, South Carolina, November the 15th through the 17th. And be a part of this unforgettable weekend where history, heritage, and empowerment converge. Well, hope to see you there, Israel. Take care and shalom.
Hey, all, what's going on? What's going on, y'all? How is everyone doing this late night evening? It's really not that late. Why did you sit? Hold on. April gonna get hurt. All right, good people. All right, what's going on? What's going on? So, okay, y'all. I'm trying to do the live and people talking, but hey, let's go and get to it. So, with that being said, y'all, I was watching the news, and the news was very interesting today in reference to what is about to transpire. So, something popped up on my news feed today that was kind of intriguing. It's about a 10-minute. You want me to go down to your little space so I can use your office?
We're gonna go.
Where y'all going? Hold on. Y'all, my child decides to cook. Are you feeling some ramen?
No, I'm not.
All right, y'all. I'm back. So let's get it started. So I was watching something and it was quite interesting, y'all. I saw today that something popped up on my news feed, and it's in reference to Trump. And Trump made a very interesting suggestion about military powers that will be considered that goes after the individuals that are Kamala's supporters. So I keep telling y'all this stuff is about to go down. Not to mention they got something that they said that Vance said today, a couple weeks ago, endorsing possibly another wave of a MAGA civil war. That's interesting. So let's see. Let's get started with this part right here. Let's get straight into business. Oh, let me do my little fair use. Hold on. All right, fair use, fair use, fair use. Where's my phone? Hold on. Hold on. Let me get my phone so I can do the fair use little thingy. Hold on. Okay, here we go. All right, fair use. Hold on. Let's get it cracking. So, photo. Okay, so copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, new reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. So, with that being said, I've said that. Let me put my little thingy right here. Rio, you get ready to get put up. Let's see, this is not going to work. Here, Rio. Here you go. It's a treat. Hold on, y'all. Let me get Rio. We can get started. Well, you know what? I'm going to go and play it, and then I'll put him up while I'm playing it. And then we can talk about it. You know, I'm going to stop and do play-by-play. So it says right here, Trump suggests using military to handle enemy within. This is going to be interesting, y'all. Fair use. This is used for educational purposes only.
Kamala Harris is warning voters about a new phrase Donald Trump has been using to describe some of his fellow Americans.
It's the enemy from within, all the scum that we have to deal with that hate our country. That's a bigger enemy than China and Russia.
The enemy within. Trump used the phrase again in an interview with Fox News yesterday when he was asked whether he expects chaos on Election Day from outside agitators.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of Election Day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. It should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
All right, our panel is back. Matt Gorman, he's saying that these people should be handled by the National Guard or the military. I think we've learned a lot about whether or not we should believe Trump when he says things, which is to say he is to be believed. We're at the point where he's saying, I'm going to use the National Guard and the military to take my political enemies out of the country.
I didn't take it like that, because I watched the clip, and they also referenced Biden's comments about Biden worrying it not be a peaceful transfer of power. And earlier in the clip, Trump referenced that too. The way I took it was.
So you see right now, they're already building the narrative that it will not be a peaceful transference. So ultimately, what we're looking at is a situation where they're saying that if Trump wins, he gonna have the National Guard out there, and he probably gonna do some crazy stuff. Probably gonna be toting folks out of the office. He gonna be doing all types of stuff. But if Kamala wins, it's like they're mentally getting themselves in a place where they're saying that this whole election thing is not going to be peaceful. This whole country is at the brinks of a civil war, I think. I really think that. I think the way things are playing out and the way the media is playing it out and the way each party is playing it out, they're building, and it's a lack of risk. They're not making good decisions. Because I was having, you know what? Me and Pastor Kelly had a long talk today, because we were talking about Kamala, because he's been talking about Kamala, and then on the other end, I've been talking about Trump. People tend to think I'm Republican, so I'm saying I'm Democrat. I'm neither. I'm independent. I would be considered to be independent. With me being independent, I'm not one that carries to any party. I'm looking at both parties. What I like about people being independent, they choose neither party. They look at both. Hold on a second. All right. So with that being said, they are building a narrative, and this narrative is not good. But like I said earlier, I'm not Republican nor am I Democrat. I'm independent. I look at both parties and give them the same measure of scrutiny, and I ask the key questions of what are you going to bring to our community? What are you bringing for the betterment of the Black community? And that's how I look at things. And neither parties have. With that being said, me and Pastor Kelly had a long talk about where we are now and how did we get here. Both parties are saying the economy is shot to the curb. Oh my gosh, each party is going to put us in the poorhouse. And I was telling Pastor Kelly, I said, the poorhouse was something that didn't happen in 2 years. This is decades of mismanagement of policies and money. So you got to look at it. Each era brought about a wave of economic upheaval from the 70s all the way up to now. Reagan, I really believe the beginning of the end was during Reagan's era. I think Reaganomics was the beginning of the demise of the economy. And each president implemented something that put us deeper, and deeper in the hole, to the point they looked up. The whole system is jacked up. So there's no party that can save this sinking ship. Like, debt doesn't happen overnight. Debt takes time. And debt is not when you're dealing with this country and policies, debt doesn't happen in a matter of one term. Debt happens in a matter of couple of presidents. And we began to see this. So everybody's upset and blaming both parties and don't realize both parties put us in debt. You had Reagan coming in. His wave of policies did away with, they started outsourcing the blue collar jobs, the factory workers. You know, people were moving to Gary, Indiana to work for, I think it was the steel mills in Memphis. You had Firestone. You had all these different companies coming in. John Deere was major in Memphis as well. And what happened was these factories started closing. And these factories saying, instead of giving it to you all and having to pay wages, having to give you 100% coverage on health insurance, because y'all remember there was a time, I was young, I don't remember, my mama told me, there was a time that you got 100% coverage on your health insurance where you didn't pay nothing, you just went to the doctor. These pension plans were impacted. And that's when you start seeing the decline of the economy. This is when you start seeing they were outsourcing these jobs. John Deere went overseas and then they got cheap labor. Firestone went overseas, they got cheap labor. They got all these cuts. So they kill the middle class when it deals with the blue collar worker. Then you have Bush. Bush had his own policies. Then people must not forget at the turn of from Daddy Bush to Bill Clinton to son Bush, you had the introduction of NAFTA. NAFTA single-handedly started taking away other jobs and outsourcing to where we're now. IT, customer service, all these jobs that were U.S. jobs were outsourced. So you got all these plants, phase one. Second part was white collar workers. Let's knock them out. And now we're in a situation where everything is overseas and all the jobs are pretty much not here. So everybody's saying, well, Kamala's at fault. Well, yeah, they have a hand in it too. But it's been something that has transpired. Each president pushed more work away from U.S. citizens. And I hate to say it like that. And it's just the writing is on the wall. So that's going to be one of our conversations with the event I'm going to have on Election Day. Also to add, I'm not going to charge. I just don't feel like charging. I don't feel right charging people anything. I will just say I accept donations if y'all want to give. I'm not going to charge anybody. I'm just going to make sure I have everything set up so people can come in. My heart is just, I can't do it. As much as I was like, I'm a charge, the closer I got to it, I said, I don't feel right. I don't feel at peace. Most High will sustain and keep everything going. So if you want to donate, that's fine. If not, I actually need to drink my tea. I bought some tea. So I'm gonna get my tea in a minute, and I'm when I stop running my mouth because I can't stop talking long enough. So, stop. No, you good. Stop, Rio. But with that being said, everybody's on edge right now because of one, the biggest problem is the economy. The biggest problem is the economy. So we'll talk about that during the event on November 5th. And it'll be, like I said, behind um, a room where we can be able to sit and have real conversation. And I have a panel of people to talk about it. And what we'll say is, how did we get here? And we'll have a long discussion. While we're having that long discussion, we're going to be playing the election in the background. And then whatever happens after the decision, we're going to go from there. But I'm going to have a group of people sit down and talk about how did we get here. And we'll talk about each era. But yet and still, we're in a situation where this country is at its wits' end. And I've never seen it like this. So you got Trump suggesting using military to handle the enemy from within. So he's ultimately saying the enemy from within is not China. It's not Russia. It's not Iran. It's our government. So y'all see where this is going? Scare and fear them. And all of them, both of them are doing the same. That's what Kamala is pushing. And it's leading to people being afraid. So let's see how we're going to play this.
That obviously, as we know, there are riots in the wake of 2020. There's also riots on Inauguration Day, small, obviously, much smaller scale in DC in 2017. I took it as National Guard and military putting those down and controlling those, which I'm totally fine with. I wish that would have been happened on January 6th. That's how I took it, because the clip was a little broader in terms of post-election day and referencing Biden's comments on that.
Is that how you took it?
No. And I think it's funny to watch the Trump surrogates twist themselves into pretzels. I'm not talking about you specifically, but we're going to watch them all twist themselves and say a version of what you're saying. I think people know what his character is, and this is to be expected. I don't think he's saying anything that he doesn't believe to be true and that he wouldn't actually do if he could do it.
I think here the facts are that Donald Trump and one of his closest advisors, Stephen Miller, have made clear over the course of months, if not this entire year, they have said that whenever Donald Trump sees fit, he will invoke the Insurrection Act and use National Guard and use military to go into American cities, not just to potentially round up migrants, but to crack down on American citizens. And there is no, the Insurrection Act, I've talked to legal experts and military experts about this, the president can use it at his own discretion, his or her own discretion. They can decide when a situation they think warrants it. And so there's no real safeguard or accountability for the president to be able to use that power, which is why there's a big concern. I think when we also talk about what Donald Trump is saying in terms of how he would use this presidential power, we should also think about what Mark Milley recently was found to be saying in Bob Woodward's book, which is that he considers the former president a fascist who has authoritarian leanings, who is someone that will totally disregard the rule of law when it comes to using the military or the National Guard against American citizens or migrants.
Well, I will say, Alex, when you look at what the Harris.
Now, this is interesting. He just know he's going to win. Y'all, I'm going to talk about that next. How close this presidential race is right now. This is why this is dangerous, because both are stirring the pot. And the percentages of suggested wins are so close that it's dangerous. So, but both sides, going back into what they're saying, both sides are. I'm gonna keep playing. I'm gonna keep playing it, and we'll talk about it.
Campaign is doing lately. If you watch, and again, it's always important to pay attention to what a campaign is actually spending money behind. They're doing negative ads on this.
Absolutely, and that's a big shift from what they were doing in August, which was really biographical pro-Kamala Harris ads. They are now actually back to where the Joe Biden campaign was back in June, which is very much focusing on Donald Trump's conduct, on just making this election a referendum on Trump. One extra thing I will add is I can tell you, people in the Harris campaign inside the Biden White House do actually have legitimate private fears of a Trump Justice Department going after them. If Trump were to win, there's a feeling that even if no charges come, that a lot of people are like looking at their bank accounts, being like, "Can I afford a big lawyer?"
There are some Republicans who also are afraid of that, by the way, like Republicans who have now endorsed Harris that are worried that if Trump were to win, he would potentially go after them.
Yeah, J.D. Vance was out on the Sunday shows kind of trying to explain all of this. I mean, as he has found himself in this position. But here's what he tried to say about whether or not Donald Trump would prosecute his political opponents if he's reelected. Watch.
New York City homeowners can get a free roof while paying $0 out of pocket, saving up.
Would Donald Trump go after his political opponents? He suggested that in the past.
Martha, he was president for 4 years, and he didn't go after his political opponents. You know who did go after her political opponents? Kamala Harris, who has tried to arrest everything from pro-life activists to her political opponents.
He said those people who cheated will be prosecuted
as a weapon against people. Well, he said that people who violated our election laws will be prosecuted. I think that's the administration of law. He didn't say people are going to go to jail because they disagree with me. That has, in fact, been the administration and the policy of Kamala Harris, Martha.
So, of course, he said there, Alex, that Trump was president for 4 years. He didn't go after his political opponents. The reporting that we know now from these books is that, well, it wasn't for lack of trying. It was because there were people in his government who said, you can't do that.
That's absolutely right. And it's completely ahistorical what he is saying. There's been tremendous amounts of reporting, not just in books. The New York Times had a piece also very recently that really went through. Also, you can just look at his Twitter feed from back then when he was calling on Jeff Sessions to prosecute X person, Y person, etc. So, it just is not, I understand he's trying to do a political answer, but it's just not historically right.
All right, with us now, CNN political commentator and Democratic strategist Paul Begala and former Trump White House Associate Counsel May Mailman. Paul, I guess we're not at closing arguments yet, but we're getting closer. So weak and unstable. What does the Harris campaign get out of this? This is the first time we've heard this language in this way from the stump.
Oh, I think it's brilliant. It's exactly what they need to be doing. Because the other big story, what does Mr. Trump say over the weekend? He talked about the enemy within, which, as you noted earlier, is fraught with really evil history. Talked about using the military against American citizens. Now, in a former life, Democrats would have said, in my case, scalp on fire, right? Ah, he's a dictator. He's a strong man. That only strengthens Trump, especially with those men where he has opened up this colossal gender gap. Look at what Vice President Harris is doing instead. Instead of saying, oh, he's so strong, he's a bully, she's saying, he's weak and unstable. He doesn't even want to debate me, a girl. He doesn't want to go on 60 Minutes. He can't. He can't release his medical records. He can't release his tax returns. It's because he's weak and unstable. So by saying that Trump uses division for diversion, I just think I personally believe it's true, but also I know it's going to have a really good effect on diffusing that strongman appeal that really does work with a lot of guys.
Let me play that appeal you're talking about there, the enemy within rhetoric. And like I said, this is language that has been used almost verbatim by autocrats over, decades and decades. May listen to this.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. It should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
May, is that a good closing argument?
Well, one of the big criticisms, and there are many, of the way that January 6th was handled is that there wasn't a sufficient law enforcement presence, including why didn't you call the National Guard earlier? And I think that that's what he's saying here is that, yes, our election day should be secured. And so he's going to do the things, or that the government should do the things that are necessary. But here's the problem, is that continuing to pick clips, oh, he said bloodbath, oh, he said enemy within, the population, people don't, Trump says so many things, this just doesn't swing people anymore. Okay, Trump said another thing, we don't like that thing, but if you actually listen to it, oh, it's talking about election day. And so Kamala Harris cannot continue to run on Trump saying a thing. She has to now run on why vote for Kamala Harris. And that is where she has really fallen flat. What is the thing? Why should you vote for Kamala Harris? We already have the people who are voting against Trump, but why you? And that, I think, that has to be our closing argument, and it doesn't seem to be at this point.
Paul?
Oh, I think she will get to that. But again, I think it's really useful to contextualize what Trump's saying. By the way, look at those two clips and turn the sound off next time you watch them.
Y'all see what they're doing, right? It seems as if they're trying to initiate some form of civil unrest within the U.S. It seems like it because they keep building a narrative as if it's like they're adding fire to both sides. Both sides are hype right now, and both of them are emotionally unhinged. Both parties, the Democratic and the Republican Party, are both unhinged right now. And with them being emotionally unhinged and feeding into it, each side is feeding into it, you will have a huge January 6th incident that they will not be able to handle. And it's just, if Trump does not win, I am really bracing myself that these people are going to go crazy in the middle of the floor. And it's because we're not having a normal presidential election. This is mudslinging times 10. People are emotionally unstable, mentally unstable, financially unstable, emotionally just over unstable. So you got all these instabilities from external and internal, and then you add fuel to the fire for one candidate to say that the other one is going to be hell on wheels, and feeding into their fears, and people are getting broke. We're in the midst of possibly going into a war, so people are afraid that if Kamala gets in office, we go into war. It's so much going on right now that the media is not helping at all. The media is not helping at all. The media adds more fuel to the fire. They need to be held accountable because they're not being the media. They're being a biased viewpoint. MSNBC is team Kamala, Fox is team Trump, and CNN is leaning towards being team Kamala. So one is just, this is going to be interesting. I'll say that much. But I got a feeling this election is going to be a mess. A total damn mess. Excuse my language.
Kamala is energetic. She's youthful. She's forceful. She is strong. And poor Mr. Trump, and I mean this, he doesn't look well. He's melting down. I mean, it's a crummy makeup job, but I mean, I could be guilty of that too. But he looks awful. It looks like a guy who's kind of falling apart, and you kind of want to bring him a glass of water or something. I don't know. But seriously, watch it. Viewers should do this. Watch those two clips back to back that you just showed with the sound off, and you tell me who is more energetic and vital and strong enough to lead America.
How vulnerable is Trump, May, do you think, on arguments about being weak and unstable?
Well, he's a very stable genius. No, I'm just kidding. So I don't know if Trump comes off as elderly, even though he obviously numbers wise is. And I do think energy wise.
I forgot to add, they just recently had another attempt on Trump's life. So the Dems are crazy as well, and the Republicans. So I forgot what rally it was. It was yesterday, I think. And they caught a man as he was getting ready to come into the Trump rally, and he was fully armed. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I've never seen it like this before. This is going to be interesting. I say that much. That's why I want us all to be together when the election is going on. I want us to be huddled somewhere watching it together and watch history unfold before our eyes without being dinged and without being hit with any type of strike. So, but while we're doing it, I'll start the live and we'll look at, like I said, the news reports, but then we'll have a panel discussion of how do we get here? How do we get to a financial state of ruin right now? But yeah, it's I've never seen it. I've never seen an attempt to this extent.
And he's not where he used to be, but he's so high energy that actually, for me and many Republicans, Kamala's suggestion of why don't you go hide in the basement is actually one that many Republicans would welcome. So I don't think attacking him as too low energy. People want that. Actually, they want Trump to be a little bit more low energy. So fine, go away. That's okay.
No matter what type of severe.
Yep. And everybody's concerned about their kids ending up in a war. Because you got the other side. Fox News is saying Kamala Harris couldn't handle The View. You got the other side where, and that's on Fox News, and you got the other side, MSNBC, making Trump look like a tyrant, screaming, "Get the National Guard." And it's like, y'all are feeding into something that if this gets out of control, every news company that fed into this needs to be held accountable by some type of court of law, because this is dangerous. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays, because again, let's look at poll numbers, presidential poll numbers today. So they've been talking about how close they're all running. Let me see. Here we go. I'll play this one. Let me share. Fair use. This is for educational uses only. Yeah, I'm taking a day off too as well. I'm taking the 5th and the 6th off.
A new NBC News poll. I am joined now by national political correspondent Steve Kornacki to take us through all of the numbers. Steve, boy, this is a big one.
Yeah, I mean, Kristen, I mean, the numbers say it. It is a tie game here weeks before the election, and it's that shift. Our last poll taken in the wake of that September debate, Harris had opened up that advantage over Trump. Gone in our new poll. What goes into that? What's behind that? I think this one is revealing. This is the basic perception voters have of these candidates. Is it positive? Is it negative? Now, these are not great numbers for either one. Trump, 43 positive, 51 negative. He's 8 points underwater, you might say. But look at Harris. Exact same positive score, and that negative number almost in the exact same place. And this is it. The last time we polled this question after that debate, Harris had really made up ground in this area. Look, she had a positive rating, 48 to 45. So that advantage has all in the last few weeks in our poll washed away for her. Then there's some issues, some characteristics here. These are advantages in red here that you see for Trump now versus September. On the immigration and the border, we asked voters who would be better on this. In September, Trump had a big advantage. It's gotten bigger. On inflation and the cost of living, Trump's advantage now hits double digits. And on the question of who represents change, Harris had the advantage in September. She still does, but lower.
So significant because voters are telling us change is a critical issue for them, not the direction you want to be going in there, Steve.
No, absolutely not. And maybe a reason for that, too, is remember, she's the VP in an unpopular administration. Look, we asked Joe Biden's policies as president. Do you think they're helping or hurting your family? Look at that. Almost 2 to 1 say hurting more than helping. His job approval rating is in the low 40s. And then here's the twist. When you ask folks, when Trump was president, were his policies helping or hurting? Look at that difference. 44% say helping, 31% say they hurt. So retrospectively, Trump is getting some numbers here. Maybe he didn't even get when he was president. And then this is in perspective, the challenge that Harris faces. These are the modern vice presidents like Harris, incumbent vice presidents running while their boss was still in office. And just look, 88, George Bush Sr., his boss Reagan had nearly a 60% approval rating. Bush won. 2000, Clinton was at 60%. Gore didn't win, but he won the popular vote. We can say that. And here's Harris. And just look how different the atmosphere is. Biden's approval rating in our poll, only 43 points. She's running in a totally different atmosphere than previous incumbent vice presidents did. And then we could talk about issues. This is an interesting way. Typically in the past, we've just given folks a list of issues, said, are they important? Here we've asked a question, is this issue so singularly important that it's the entire basis of your vote for president. And you could see abortion comes in number one there.
And that's so significant. This is the first presidential election after Roe v. Wade was overturned. Hugely significant. Abortion is at the top. Usually we're talking about the cost of living as being the energizing factor.
Absolutely. And I think the Harris folks, if they're looking for good news in this.
So, y'all, I have watched many presidential elections in my life. One of the most historic ones I've ever seen was the Gore and Clinton administration when Gore had won the popular vote, but the Electoral College. That was when I had actually learned of what the Electoral College was. But Gore won the popular vote, but the overall Electoral College overrode the popular vote. Now, being honest, I think with that type of situation, you would think that people would be cutting up in Miller Street. We didn't. Everybody got quiet. Everybody was chilling. Everybody was upset. But this group of individuals, I don't think that's gonna go for them. And they finna try it again. They gonna flip it and just wait. And you can see because they're running so close, it's gonna be a night. It's gonna be a mess for them. It's gonna be a mess. And I'm just sitting here and I'm watching it. I kid y'all not. Y'all just be prepared while we having a panel discussion. I'm gonna be playing it in the back because as these numbers come in, people are gonna get frustrated because it's gonna be a yo-yo. I'm just gonna be honest. So, yeah, these polls are running kind of neck and neck, and I've never seen it like this before.
Poll, it's this because this issue is her biggest advantage over Donald Trump. And you could see, as you say, potentially a motivating factor. And one more note here, just got to show this, the gender gap. We always talk about gender gaps in presidential races, but how about this? Trump by 16 among men, Harris 14 among women. That is a 30-point difference between those two. If that happens on election day, that's one for the history books. We've never seen it that high.
Yeah, an historic gender gap for sure. All right, Steve Kornacki, as always, great stuff. Thanks you.
Kristen. Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
They finna be hitting these channels. Just know that. Just know when this election comes up, folks' channels are finna get kicked. When things start going left, these channels, they not finna allow these channels to do what they gonna do. They are going to hit a lot of these channels. So brace yourself. That's why I'm like, why is my heat? Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to turn this heat on because it's weather changing. But yeah. So with that being said, let's see. So tensions are rising. Even Telegram. Send me a link to Telegram. I have a hard time somebody drop the link to Telegram for me. Let me play this. So they're saying tensions are beginning to just, I'm gonna play this. Yeah, I'm telling y'all, this is the craziest election I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, there is a growing rift between President Biden and Vice President Harris and each of their staffs as we're just 3 weeks out from Election Day.
Yep, senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich joins us with the latest. Jackie.
Good morning, guys. Axios reports things are frosty between the VP's campaign team and the White House just before the run-up to the election. And, quote, some on the Harris team say that top White House aides aren't sufficiently coordinating Biden's messaging and his schedule to campaign with what's best for the vice president's campaign. They highlighted a few times the president's impromptu remarks conflicted with an event that Harris was doing, upending the media coverage that Harris would then receive, like when Biden twice gave impromptu remarks in the hurricane, just when Harris was about to speak from the campaign trail. These campaign sources go on to accuse the White House of lacking someone in the room to think first and foremost about how things would affect the campaign. However, I've been talking about these same things with folks from the White House, they've been increasingly frustrated that Harris's campaign keeps putting the president in a tough spot, like when she publicly picked a fight with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis over not taking her calls. I spoke with 3 sources in the president's orbit about all that. They agreed it was a dumb thing for Harris to do, and that DeSantis and Biden had been coordinating on the response. Biden was not going to dump on the Florida governor, whose state was about to be pummeled by a storm. So when reporters asked whether DeSantis should be taking her calls, of course the president was going to deflect. And then the media sounded off about how he sided with DeSantis over his vice president, but this, in their view, was a situation of her making. These sources felt that the decisions that the Harris campaign was making showed their relative inexperience and novice. And while he's been bending over backwards to give her opportunities to demonstrate her leadership, she's fumbled it a couple of times, guys.
And Jackie, according to the Axios article, and they talked to 10 people, which is a lot of people. It's not just 1 or 2. Some of the Biden people, either from the campaign or the White House, joined the Kamala Harris team, but they feel like they are being labeled disloyal by all their friends. And so that's causing some of the problem and some of the tension.
Well, it's sort of a Frankenstein operation when you consider there's the former Biden campaign folks, the Biden loyalists, the Obama era people who joined the campaign, Harris's team that transitioned to the campaign, new people that they've brought in. They sort of threw this together because there's such a tight run up to the election, but there are competing factions. It affects us when we're trying to get a statement because you've got to get sign off from so many different people, whereas it used to be pretty streamlined when it was under Joe Biden. So,
Jackie, thank you.
So now it's tension amongst the inner workings of the Democratic Party. It's like, y'all, come on now. I'm looking in the sky saying, next thing you know, we're going to be talking about the spaceships. It's crazy. I'm like, I'm not really, again, I'm going back. I'm not really shocked because right now, tension is all over. The tension is in the air with both parties. Tension, it's even tension amongst the Republican Party. Because right now, everybody's fighting to win. And yeah. Hold on.
Thanks.
This is my favorite story of the day for many reasons. Look, it's normal for the vice president's office to kind of be siloed from the president. That was the case with Pence. You know, yes, you work as a team, but they have their own agenda. They have things they're working on.
You're in a different building.
Well, same building, the vice president's office, but yes, some of his teams across the street in the old executive office building. But here's what's not normal: for President Biden to storm out in a press conference while she's about to take the stage in Michigan. And not only that, he knows she needs to distance herself from him. And she said she was a part of all the decisions. She helped pass all the laws. Then you have the DeSantis mixed messaging. But the most telling part of this story is you have Andrew Bates going on the record dismissing this.
Right.
You have the White House denying this. And the most important line of the Axios story: Harris officials, her office and her campaign declined to comment.
Right.
If I would have been asked about this with Pence, I would have said, this isn't true. No, there's nothing to this. They stayed silent.
Well, also, I would add this. It's going to get worse.
Of course it
Because
is.
This is the week that she realized the biggest mistake she made last week. She had a terrible week last week. Was there's nothing between us. And then when she was asked to fix it on a commercial break, she came back and says, yeah, I know one thing we do different. I'd put a Republican on my staff. Not good enough.
Nope.
Because most people want change. She was grading higher than Trump on someone to bring change. That number is shrinking.
Keyword: everybody wants change. Everybody wants not to be broke. That's the whole thing. Economies can make and break a whole campaign, a presidential election. And right now, neither parties have given anybody a warm and cozy feeling about how this country is going to get out of economic upheaval. So hold on.
Because she's saying, I'm not going to be a change by her answer because she doesn't pre-think anything, or no one briefs her, and she can't retain it.
There's a double whammy because there's two questions that she's been asked consistently that she has no answer really to, or the answer is the non-answer. They've asked her, why haven't you done it now? Right. And she's under the impression that things are going well right now. And then the second question is there anything that you disagree with Joe Biden? Maybe they may feel like the current president is trying to sabotage her in some type of way, but her answer and his answer are the same.
Right.
So I do find it very peculiar in the last 20 days that if there is.
Now, this is just speculation and speculation alone. Understand this. Fair use. I'm going to say it again. Maybe, I'm wondering if Kamala is beefing with Biden because if we go to war, that puts the brakes on everything. She don't want to do that. She want to proceed and get in that seat. He's teaming up with Israel and providing support to Ukraine, which could cause Russia to respond and Iran to respond, which could lead us into a war. And then them seats are locked. So I'm wondering why they really beefing. It's something really, really, really going on. It's something, yeah.
Going to be some type of change in messaging? Is she suddenly going to start saying that she disagrees with the
She needs to
president?
vote on that. You should
That's
have done
right.
this during the debate
That's
when you
exactly
have the biggest
right.
national audience. You can't fool us now. It's 22 days.
See, I think what's happening, and we've seen it a lot over the last 48 hours, is suddenly people in the mainstream media are starting to explain why Donald Trump is going to win.
Yes.
Ultimately, the Axios thing is about, look, behind the scenes, it was a knife fight. You know,
Right.
his team, her team, and then you look at the front page of the New York Times yesterday. Nate Cohn has a great thing that describes something that we've been talking about for a while. Why Donald Trump is gaining so many African Americans and Hispanic voters, and the article was possible explanations why it is, just so people can start to get their head around why she is unpopular, but why he is popular and why he might win. They're just setting the table because the polls have gotten really close.
They have.
And she plateaued a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's not over, but I would say this is a December conversation. It shouldn't be an October conversation.
If you're not making $158,000.
Yeah. It's what's today's date? Today is the 14th. Let's see. We got how many days to the election? We got this week, next week, and then week after next. And then after that, we go straight into November 5th. We go straight into November 5th. It's going to be, this election is going to be historic. That's where I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna drop it. This election is gonna be the last one in the books that we'll ever see be like this again. I don't want to say it's gonna be the last election because folks are like, oh, this is the last. No, I'm not saying that. This is gonna be an election that kind of changes and shifts how things are done from an election standpoint. How things are also played off by the media, because the media has a huge hand in this. Like I said, I know everybody's like the powers that be want to do this because they want to shift the powers. That's fine. I mean, I'm not fighting that. I'm looking at the fact of this is meant, I think this election ultimately is meant to be the end of this country. And when I say the end, not the sense of the word like this is all coming to the end, but how politics are handled in this country. I think this is going to be a shift. It's going to be such a shift to the point that it's going to be like a shift how 9/11. You remember how 9/11 came about? And after 9/11, everything changed, and it changed overnight. How we dealt with flying out of town. We never had to deal with TSA. We're dealing with TSA now. You can't take this on the plane. You can't do this. It changed the whole concept and mindset of how we travel. I think it's going to do the same here. It's going to change how we deal with politics, how we deal with media, how we deal. But my biggest concern is ninjas in the middle of the fight. There's too many of us in it on both sides. They see in our face way too much in it. And see, that's all they need is a person to blame. They always look for people to blame. If everything goes south, guess who they're going to blame? They love to play a good blame game. It's interesting. I've heard a few people say that. Yeah. And I just get a weird vibe about this. I get a weird vibe about this election right here. I'll say that much. So let me play something else. Hold on. Hold on, my house is loud. Do y'all hear my house right now? Yes or no? Hold on. Is my house loud? I'm sorry, y'all.
Former President Trump kicking off the weekend with a sold-out rally in Aurora, Colorado, as Democrats' concern over Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign continue to grow. In fact, one Democratic analyst says he's scared to death, and maybe he should be. Trump is taking his presidential pitch, meanwhile, to the city he describes as a war zone over the flood of migrants to the city. That's why he's going to a blue state in the middle of a hot presidential campaign to highlight the failed border policies of the Biden-Harris administration and their impact on you, the everyday American. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany here with my co-host, Emily Campagno. Also joining us, Cheryl Casoni, Fox Business anchor and host of American Dream Home on Fox Business. Tommy Lahren, Fox News contributor and host of Tommy Lahren is Fearless on Outkick. And Todd Pyro on a Friday, Fox and Friends co-host. All right, well, we begin in Aurora, Colorado, where Aisha Hasni has the latest on the Trump campaign. Aisha.
Hey there. Well, this campaign is really shaking things up. Everyone that I talk to, and I mean everyone, is talking about this visit. Some opinions are great, some opinions not so good, but he is really shaking things up in Colorado, specifically because this is what he said he would do in Aurora if he wins the White House this November. Watch.
I will send a federal law enforcement, large group of people, but a tough group of people to liberate Aurora, Colorado. The governor of Colorado is a coward. He's afraid to do what you have to do.
So he's talking about Democratic Governor Jared Polis, who is trying to get ahead of this visit, writing this: that the former president, when he gets here, will find, quote, incredible city with 2 straight years of rapidly declining crime. So that's not entirely accurate. Crime is down citywide in Aurora, but police report an increase in aggravated assaults in the area of the apartment buildings, especially the one that we saw in that video. We don't know if these men that you see in the video are part of the Tren de Aragua gang. That's the gang that everyone talks about here. It's hard to identify these guys because police, Kayleigh, have not even apprehended all of them. I believe only one person right now is in custody. But the city's Republican mayor has admitted to Fox News that, yes, there was a problem. They're trying to get their hands around this problem because before it becomes a bigger deal. They are trying to figure this out. Again, the president really stirring things up by bringing the campaign trail and the issue that he talks about a lot right in the heart of where it's happening. Kayleigh?
No doubt. Aisha, keep us updated. Thank you. You know, Emily, Trump has a pretty robust campaign schedule. He's in Aurora this afternoon.
Hey, this is Eugene Vindman, and I'm his older brother, Alex Vindman.
Nevada.
Good night, Char. But that's another thing that people are concerned about. What's going on in Colorado? Well, not going on, but what's going on as far as migrants. Migrants is one of the hottest subjects right now. And what I've heard, they're saying that they're utilizing migrants just to help Democrats get in the office. I don't know how that's going to work. That doesn't make sense. But they did that to get her more votes, which is crazy to me if that's the case. But right now, the situation is totally out of control. So you have those individuals that are concerned because of the situation with the migrants and the large number of assaults that have transpired. Can you visualize you sitting in your apartment and somebody come to your door with an AK and telling you to get out? People are scared for their lives as well. Because you see right here, it says the title of this is Scared to Death, Democrats in Panic Mode Over Kamala. So that says something.
And at first, you know, people are puzzled. He has this blue state strategy. We're in the middle of a campaign. He's going to Coachella in California and then Aurora, Colorado, and he announced Madison Square Gardens in New York City. But this is kind of a sign of confidence. They must be looking at their internal polls, feeling really good and thinking, let's make a splash. Let's have some fun now.
Yeah, Reno, the biggest little city in the world, right? One of my favorites, obviously. Look, this is what's important about his confidence, is that it interweaves with the Democrats, sort of the widespread messaging that they are in a panic. And here's my advice to everyone. It's for the Republicans not to get too safe, not to get too comfortable, and to realize that the Democrats, like everything, are using that simply as a tool. Now, we have headlines that have littered throughout mainstream media, The Hill, Politico, AP. Democrats are anxious. Democrats hit the panic button, haunted by 2016. The list goes on. And then you see how it is harnessed by, for example, former President Obama. You anxious? Get out and get the vote out, right? There's a huge campaign centered around this panic button, and all that will do is flock them and flood them to the ballots even more than Republicans. So I love the display of confidence because I feel like, unlike the Dems, it's actually based on reality, but we cannot get too confident. No one can sit home in November. No one at all, either party.
There's the headlines, and no doubt that's been the theme of this week, Democrats panicking. And then there's even on the record Democrats, smart Democrats, top Democrats panicking. Let's watch Carville. Let's watch Axelrod.
Only thing I feel is the election's coming November 5th. And I'm scared to death, and I'll get a time to, obviously.
You're not in a reflective mood.
Not in a particular reflective mood right now. I'm very, very concerned.
I think the vibe right now isn't great. There's concern. I'm not minimizing the fact that I do think she stalled out about 10 days after the debate.
I mean, Cheryl, it's a definite shift from Democrats who are kind of truth tellers in the party.
Right. Well, okay, you have James Carville, who is, he's Bill Clinton's, right-hand guy, or he was, and he knows what he's talking about. They must be seeing something in their internal polling that is telling them how much more she's in trouble than the polling that we see. Because the polling that we have, there's a new Wall Street Journal poll out today, close race in all the swing states. Some have Trump up by 5 points, like in Nevada, for instance. As far as David Axelrod, I think he's using his television appearances to coach her and to get a message directly to her and to Tim Walz that you need to start speaking the language of the moderates and you need to start answering questions. And by the way, I had Newt Gingrich on with me this morning on Fox Business, and I asked him the same exact question about why all of a sudden do you have James Carville coming out here and saying that he's scared? And he said, look, the reason that Clinton and Obama are going out and hitting the campaign trail for her is because of the panic button. He said that's a true thing. He also said it's going to hurt her because you're going to have two actual presidents who were leaders and that she's going to look weak compared to Obama and Clinton. I thought that was an interesting choice of words from Newt.
It is. Todd, I go back to the polling errors in 2016 and in 2020, and they did go against Trump. They underpolled Trump voters. Not the same for the midterm.
All right, so panic, keyword, panic, scare, everything, the sky's falling. that's leading to, it's feeding into I don't want to say purge because I don't want to scare the heck out of everybody, but it's leading to that. It's leading to folks gonna be standing in it. I wouldn't be sure. Y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all something. Even though I'm planning for the event to start at 3, I might have to push the time up because something may transpire where I say, y'all, let's get online now. So whatever time I put out there, understand it might change. Just know if it goes down, be ready to come in the room with me. But they're feeding into that panic mode. Everybody's in panic. Everybody's scared. Everybody's concerned. Panic, 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 panic. Oh my God, if Trump gets in, the world's coming to an end. Oh, if Kamala comes in, we're going to war. Oh, we're going to jail. Military police. Scared. It's scaring that. I hate to say, it's scaring the hell out of people, and it's fear-mongering them to go and vote a certain way. People are going to vote out of fear. And it's just like panic, panic, fear, fear, panic, panic. Immigrants going to take over. They're going to come here. You notice that. Everything is fear, fear, fear. And I'm like, you don't do that with people.
Terms, everyone thought red wave, so the midterm polls overestimated the Republican voter. But this is the poll I keep going back to. If the polls have that same error, kind of undercounting the Trump voter, this is the reason I'd be panicking. You see Harris is up 1.8% nationally. Biden at this time was up 10.6% nationally, 5 times the lead Harris has.
So you have to ask the question, why? And I think this has 100% to do with the fact that we are about 3 weeks away from the election. And Kamala Harris still can't deliver that bite-sized nugget thesis statement. Remember when we were in school, you had to deliver the thesis statement, that one main takeaway for every paper you wrote? We still don't know what that thesis statement is from her on the economy. She wants to help the middle class. Great. So does everybody. That's not a plan. What's her plan on immigration? She goes back and forth, doesn't come up with any specifics, whereas Donald Trump delivers bite-sized nuggets that when you're in the voting booth, you can take away. The only deliverable that she delivers on the campaign trail is that Trump is a threat to democracy. And I think at this point, that is mere background noise, especially in those blue wall states that are the main concern for the Democrats right now. Because if you're a 45-year-old guy like me, undecided in your vote, what are you focused on? This concept of democracy or the fact that you're having trouble paying for your kids? To me, the latter resonates more with somebody my age, and I think that's what's hurting her in the blue wall right now.
Fear, fear, panic, panic. World coming to the end. Fear, fear, fear. That's all you hear. That's all I'm hearing, and I'm like, you got crazy people out here that's afraid. And they're gonna do something that's just this is gonna be interesting.
Tommy, let's go a layer deeper, because the headlines have not just been Democratic panic, but Democratic panic over some of the crosstabs in the polls. And you see this here. You see the Hill, Democrats fearing that Harris is losing too many male voters to Trump. USA Today and Razor Close Nevada, Latino men shy away from Harris. And Wall Street Journal, Kamala is struggling to break through with working class voters. These are huge subgroups that Democrats must win, or at least excel somewhat with.
Also want to say, I don't believe it has anything to do with her being a woman. I don't think that's why she's having a problem with male voters. I think it's because she doesn't connect with them, to your point, Todd, on the issues that matter most to them. And I would also, to piggyback off your point, you have to be in a pretty privileged position, like those in the media are, to think that January 6th and democracy is the reason you're going to go and cast your vote for this candidate or the other. That's a very privileged position to be in. Most Americans, thanks to her and Joe's economy, are not in that position, but she's struggling because she doesn't have authenticity. And that matters to every group across the board. It even matters to young people. And we're seeing that she's doing well with young people, but not as well as she could be, because people can sniff that out. She's got a different accent every group she talks to. She relies on the talking points, and she comes across as unprepared and messy. This last week has been messy, not just because there's two major hurricanes and it's very tone deaf to go on Colbert and call her daddy, but also because in every interview we get a different Kamala. There is no structure there, and she comes across as very chaotic. People don't want chaos right now, and they're going to remember that in 3 weeks.
No doubt. And look, she had a decent debate. She had the help of two moderators there. She can read off a teleprompter. We've seen that. She had a fine DNC. But lately it's been different. And yet,
chaos, fear. It's just a lot of fear words. Listen to all the fear words that are being said in this. Let's see. I'm gonna take it back. Let's count how many times we heard a fear-mongering word in this whole speech. So let's see.
But also, to piggyback off your point, you have to be in a pretty privileged position, like those in the media are, to think that January 6th and democracy is the reason you're going to go and cast your vote for this candidate or the other. That's a very privileged position to be in. Most Americans, thanks to her and Joe's economy, are not in that position. But she's struggling because she doesn't have authenticity. And that matters to every group across the board. It even matters to young people. And we're seeing that she's doing well with young people, but not as well as she could be, because people can sniff that out. She's got a different accent every group she talks to. She relies on the talking points, and she comes across as unprepared and messy. This last week has been messy, not just because there's two major hurricanes and it's very tone deaf to go on Colbert and call her daddy, but also because in every interview we get a different Kamala. There is no structure there, and she comes across as very chaotic. People don't want chaos right now, and they're going to remember that in 3 weeks.
no doubt. And look, she had a decent debate. She had the help of two moderators there. She can read off a teleprompter. We've seen that. She had a fine DNC. But lately it's been different. And yesterday I watched Trump. Yesterday I watched Obama. And they were both very fluid on the campaign trail. They're both very natural. They're used to it. And then Kamala Harris, it's clunky. It's awkward. I mean, for someone running a vibes campaign, the vibe right now is awkward. All right.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me.
Okay, so listening to that, I think I've heard 5 to 6 fear-mongering words or phrases. Chaos. January 6th. Chaotic. It's fear-mongering comment after fear-mongering comment to scare people to go to the polls. Are they gaining anything from it? No. If anything, it's going to put them in a bad position to where during this election, if one poll does not open up properly or show any characteristics of mismanagement of those numbers, all hell is going to break loose. And I hate to say there's no other word to explain it. So with that being said, who is the center of the campaign? Black people and black men, definitely. With Obama making the statement about black men voting for Kamala. Why is it they harass us? But don't nobody want to, man, please. They harass us to go to the polls because they're concerned that the black number is shifting towards Trump. For us to not have any meaning, let me get my candy. Hi, y'all. I got some candy. Really, I'm not saying they're going to give black people nothing. They sure be in black spaces trying to figure out who wants to vote for who. Definitely going to be in black spaces. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm done for tonight, but we can recap and go over some of the things that, we kind of talked about. You got Trump talking about bringing the military presence in to get the enemy within. You got Republicans afraid that if Kamala gets in office, the country's going to fall apart. Which country been falling apart for decades. Everybody's scared of Venezuelan gangs. You got the situation where now the polls are not, they're running two neck and neck with Kamala versus Trump. It's such a multitude of things that it's ridiculous. So y'all keep watching the news. And let's keep going. I'm trying to pace myself in the things that I say so I don't get hit. Because they hitting us. YouTube has been saying they've been getting hit, especially dealing with this war. We didn't talk about the war and the threats that Russia's making. We ain't even got into that yet. So, y'all share, like this video. Share, like, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. Share it. Get people to join into the conversation. Get them engaged. Get them involved in this. So let's, so share this with your family members, especially going into this election. So we can all kind of have a plan and how we're going to watch this election and watch it together. Well, I already got a plan. So they can be involved, rather. It's going to be an interesting set of events. I'll say that. So with that being said, keep your eyes on what's going on, because the closer we get to the election, the more chaotic it's going to get. If they happen to do something to Trump, it's going to be even worse. So we're going to go into utter mass chaos. So I think, rather, in my opinion. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for listening to me. I'm getting ready to go to bed because I ain't got sleeping. I'll do something later on this week to talk a little bit more, because I got a feeling more stuff is going to happen as we get closer and closer to the election. Also, don't forget what's going on overseas. Still got Russia-Ukraine conflict, Iran and Israel, and Taiwan and China. So make sure y'all keep y'all eyes on that. All right, family. Thank y'all so much for your support, and have a good rest of your evening and good night, because I'm going to bed. And thank y'all for supporting me.